Well, why don't we start then? And call to order. It's what, 10:04?
Yes.
Okay, and the first item is the minutes. Okay, if does anybody have any?
You need a
Well,
motion.
yeah, yeah, and then we have a motion, and then we have opportunity to amend.
Right, move to accept.
Okay.
This is
Any
Danny.
discussion? I do have one. If
gonna
people
second
can, it's hard because the minutes in this and this committee are always so bloody good. But I just if anybody can let me go through with an old curmudgeonly thing on the top line of the third page. It's still not defined an emergency situation. Can we please delete the word situation? An emergency is a situation, and network news speak of putting crisis situation, emergency situation, and combat situation should be banned. But other than that, I've never had a comment on the minutes. They're always very, very professionally done. So,
John, I appreciate that. May I ask, just to be sure, so we want, you're asking that we delete the word situation, correct?
correct.
Okay.
That may have been quoting me accurately, so I will try to do better myself going forward.
Or you can just roll your eyes the next time I say something like that.
No, it's a good point.
Okay.
I was just going to ask, should Mark still be shown as a public member on the of this?
No, you should not. It should be
Good
removed.
question.
Very good.
Have we heard officially, Frank, or is that's why I left them on?
Okay. Well, I'll find out.
That's the only reason I left them on. I didn't want to,
Yeah.
until I get something in writing, or whatever you say. I mean, whatever.
Perhaps we could amend the motion slightly to say pending confirmation. Adjustment to pending confirmation.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, okay. Bonnie had come in with a chat. The governor's office is reviewing the Connecticut CPA's recommendations for SBOA members at this time. Okay.
What does that mean?
Reviewing?
Yeah, I mean, is it just because Mark resigned, or is there other?
Oh, that refers to filling the empty spots, I believe,
Okay.
as opposed to accepting Mark's resignation, which
Okay.
he said he was no longer qualified, which was the issue.
Right.
Okay. You know, we haven't had any business so far for comments or concerns of any person present today. So, well, I'll open up for that anyway. I think the only person we've got on right now is Bonnie. Okay, not hearing it, seeing a chat or whatever. I'll move on to old business legislation.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's a bill, there are 3 statutes that the
Oh,
DCP
I'm sorry.
is looking. I'm sorry.
There's a delay here on the chat here, and I see that Bonnie says she has one thing. So perhaps before we go to the old business, we can do that. Does she have to type that in, or can we allow her in to speak?
I'm going to see if I can, well, let me find, let me find her, John, and I will, let's see.
John, do you actually have to take a vote on the minutes approving?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm
My
abstaining
apologies.
there.
Okay, well,
I don't see Bonnie. I'm sorry, John. I don't see Bonnie on the, let's see. Oh, Bonnie, here we go. Allowed to talk.
Okay, yep,
All right.
Bonnie,
Can you hear me?
we can.
Sorry.
So I just wanted to alert everyone on on legislation. There is a measure that actually the Labor Committee has regarding exclusivity agreements and non-competes, et cetera. It does not take into consideration any standard setting boards rules, whether it be the AICPA Code of Ethics, FASB GAP, any of those things. So it's just a piece of legislation we should keep on our radar screen and make sure that we don't have issues afterwards, because there are restrictions under those codes and we would not be able to enforce them if this measure were to pass in the legislature this year. So I know Frank's going to update everyone else on the other pieces of legislation, but this is Senate Bill 906. I have been working with people in the ethics office at the AICPA, and right now it is a significant concern. We do have the CTCPA lobbyists reaching out to the governor's office about it, as well as the chairs of the Labor Committee. We do expect it to come out of the Labor Committee because pretty much everything does. But again, we're hoping that we can address our concerns as the measure moves along by getting the professional standards added to the legislation that would then allow us to say, you can't work there and here at the same time, because we don't want someone working for one of the firms and that's doing an audit on Acme Wire and then working for Acme Wire at the same time in the finance department or something. So just a heads up on that front, that it is a big concern and we're trying to address it as the legislation slowly moves forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other members have any comments or questions? Good. It's actually nice to hear that things are seem to be moving along and working, even if in the rather sclerotic way of Connecticut timing, but they're working and back in line, I think. Okay, Frank.
Yeah, the DCP bill, or yes, it's kind of one bill, is all put into the larger DCP bill of House 61, HB 6100. If you wanted to follow that, and the county's bills are in section 38. That's about changing the time of allowing candidates to not have necessarily have a baccalaureate degree before they can start taking the exam, as long as they have 120 semester hours of education. It's changing some other minor things. Scrolling through here, it's allowing an online renewal system for licenses. Although we already do that, so I guess that's just more putting in a statute what's already happening. And then something to require licensees to keep their work product and work papers for 7 years after they, afterwards. And then also, and then changing the contingency fees requirements that are there now, and all. So, so far they're still alive. It's obviously early in the session. And again, it's House Bill 6100 if you wanted to keep tracking that. And I don't have anything beyond that.
Frank, did you want to mention to that Peter's suggested language about referral is also in there?
Yes, it is. Yep. That's part of the contingency fee. I'm sorry. Yes.
You can never leave the board, Pete, until that's finally through. You know that.
Another 10 years, Frank, and I'll get there.
That's right.
Okay. Any further questions, comments? Okay, then I think we can move forward to which is probably going to be a longer session here, and that's regulations.
Okay, I'll just first say there is good news, and I think everyone should be aware of it. I forwarded that we have moved, at least for the current regulation changes, to the public comment period. And I did reach out to Jerry Padula, who's one of the members of the DCP's committee that works on all regulations that we have, just seeing what this next step is. So he basically says that after the public comment period ends, then the department will be required to review and consider all comments and then determine in writing whether or not we are making any of the changes that were proposed. And we'll actually, I'm going to suggest something in a little bit. The department must publish a document detailing changes to the regs, if any, that will be made when compared to the original. Then we could also modify the fiscal note and the small business impact statement if necessary. Next, the latest version of the document, including whatever changes come, and everything else on the record, are forwarded to the Attorney General. The AG reviews it for legal sufficiency, whether we have the legal authority to promulgate the regulation, whether it violates any state or federal law, and also checks that we have followed all the proper regulation procedures. After that approval, it is submitted to the General Assembly's Regulation Review Committee for review by the Legislative Commissioner's Office and an approval at an upcoming meeting. So hopefully we're getting towards the end. But again, we're in the public comment period, so we were hoping that it would be helpful. It would be helpful in hoping that the board would maybe put something together that we could submit. You could submit on the public record in support of these changes. And I did forward to you just some talking points, also just a reminder of what the major changes are in this thing too. And just, yeah, well, let me start there. Because before I go to the next thing.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment. I mean, you haven't had a chance to talk about what you've set up with John Johnson yet, but we are on the timing of retaking the tests. And that's a matter because the technology has changed and how the tests are actually given. You don't have to wait a period to not get the same exam again. And so far, 53 of the 55, I believe it is, jurisdictions have gotten the reg change through, and we're one of the ones that hasn't, which could create a lot of problems with, with the whole testing here. The only thing we really have is, I guess, discussions last, oh God, when was it? It was back in 2019, was benign neglect. In that, since nobody was probably going to bring up a case against somebody taking it the wrong time, you could just kind of ignore it. And that's, of course, not the right way in an oversight and regulatory function. But it's something that I really hope we're able to clear up. And Frank's done a lot of work, Frank and Kat, and gotten NASBA on board to write something strong and supporting letter. And I think that's in relationship to that is what the meeting that you all saw in your email thing with John Johnson tomorrow. And I hope some people are able to make it. I know this is not a good time for anybody that's a practicing CPA. Because the pandemic has, if anything, increased the demands on your time. So, oh, hi. Good morning.
There she is.
Good morning.
Good morning, Martha.
Hi, sorry to be
Morning.
at another Zoom meeting. Sorry, I'm on my second one
No,
today.
That is the way of things now. Thank you.
It's easier to get up when you're in person and say, well, thanks for coming. The meeting's over. On Zoom, it tends to linger, so I apologize for that.
Frank has updated everybody on the progress of legislation, and right now we're going through the progress of regulatory updates, which, by the way, I have to admit that it seems like this is all going a little more smoothly than the last 2 years. I don't know whether it's something in the water or what, but somehow you're getting some things to move.
Well, from a historical perspective, it seems like it's quite a bit more smooth than it used to be, maybe like 10 years ago or more. It was really rocky. So congrats to all involved with that, getting things moving.
And I guess a side grats should go to the society.
Yes.
Been working very hard on all of these. Floor is yours, Frank.
Well, I just with the board want to make some kind of a statement in favor of the changes that are in there. Just that would be, or is there just something that I'm told by the people who know better than I that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll just throw my opinion in, absolutely. And the question is, just doing strong support, or would it be helpful to mention that, falling further behind the national movement might make it more difficult to exercise, for the state to exercise its regulatory function?
Yeah, I think a little something along those lines would be helpful. Just a little reasoning is always good.
You never know whether you're going to get any blowback for saying, "Hey guys, you're not doing so well."
Do you know, should we make separate motions, or can we just do the proposed regulatory changes as a package in one motion?
I think you can do them all in one motion.
Okay.
And I'm just asking, maybe just for a single, I don't know, letter's the right word, or just, I guess a letter just in support of what is of the entire changes. Again, the three main ones being the continuous testing, the rules of professional conduct, and the exam requirement.
Yeah, I think it perhaps could mention something on the exam requirement, that this is a substantial improvement to better match the skills required to today's technological. I don't know. I'll throw that to the three practicing. We've got some that are housekeeping. We've got some that would place an undue burden on professionals in Connecticut without any countervailing improvement in the regulatory function. In fact, probably a diminution of same. And some are recognizing the changes that modern technology is bringing to business and auditing, and we've got to keep up with. We've just got to keep up with. I'm short of words there.
Advancements in technology.
Perfect. Yeah. If you want a strong profession that does its job well, you've got to respond to the times.
And also, perhaps, I don't know if it's needed there to augment what you said, but to keep up with the developments in the profession in other jurisdictions.
I think
Right.
what Martha just said is really good. Well, and also just said is really good. Well, and also what was said before, but I think that maybe we should use the words that we want to ensure that Connecticut accountants are not put at a competitive disadvantage vis-a-vis other jurisdictions. That sort of adds a note of urgency, but maybe that's a little over the top.
It's a good point.
I don't think that's over the top.
Excuse me, Dan?
I said, I don't think that's over the top what Carla said. It just, it does show that it's a sense of urgency that we do need to, update the regulations so that we can fall in line with the other states at this point, other jurisdictions at this point.
Yeah.
Especially given how long it takes us to get these things pushed through at this point. So, yeah.
We might not want to say that though.
Well, no.
That last thing.
That pushes it to the bottom of the list of 2027.
Uh-oh.
Your screen is lit up, Pete. Were you trying to say something?
No.
Okay.
So do you
Anybody
want me
got
to-
notes that might be able to put that together?
Okay, so I guess, yeah, and it needs to be, the 18th is when the comment period ends. So I guess what we can do is Kat and I can take what we got today, maybe draft something in the next few days and send it. I mean, you guys will have to vote on this, but this is my proposing, and then maybe send it to the chair to I can send it to everybody, I guess, but that
Yeah.
makes it a meeting. So to, to review and then sign on behalf of the board. That makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes a big CC list on the bottom is helpful because everybody knows somebody's looking over your shoulder.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
Should we pass some sort of resolution right now that it's a sense of the committee, the board, that we want to strongly support the suggested changes in regulations? And that way, that gives credibility to John, just forwarding it when there's an agreement between he and Frank and Kat about the language. I'd be willing to make a motion of sense of the committee to make a public statement of the board supporting the proposed regulatory changes.
Is that an official motion?
Yes.
Would anybody,
Please second it then.
you second that?
I will. Yep.
Okay. You want to read back what we've got, Frank?
Well,
how far back am I going?
my only motion is that it's a sense of the committee. That's the only thing
Right.
we're voting on, and that gives you a free hand, John, to work with Kat and Frank to finish off whatever the exact language is.
Okay, I didn't know whether you wanted to add a sense of committee that strongly in support of or whatever, but
Yeah, I can, a sense of the committee to strongly support the proposed regulatory changes.
okay, and we have a second. Any comments or discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
I
All right.
Any opposed? The motion passes. I gotta cover everybody up with the, then we're to new business, remote testing, response to
Actually,
NASBA?
no, we have, I need to talk about the future revisions.
Oh,
for the
okay, I'm
CPA
sorry.
Evolution. You haven't
Okay,
brought that up. This is, because this is actually interesting. As I mentioned before, it is possible, all right, take a step back. We also need to change our regulations for the CPA evolution because we, most importantly, we name the 4 sections of the exam currently. So we need to take those out because once CPA evolution takes effect in January 2024, and as we know that might be, is how long, anyway, we would have to have those specific references out. There's also potential changes to the specific education requirements and all. And so again, we need to change the regs for that. But the good news is actually we might be able to make those changes with the current regs during this comment period. Make say one of the comments could be that we to make the necessary changes for CPA evolution. And to help us with that is NASBA. And so tomorrow, there, Chairman Schuyler and Ms. Arsenault and I are meeting with at least 2 members of NASBA, Dan Dustin and John Johnson. John deals with the legislation nationally for NASBA about the changes that are necessary for that. So we are planning on trying to make the changes, currently, and so and get those through quickly, and not have to be, holding our breath in January of 2020 or January of December of 2023 that we may not be able to allow the CP evolution here. So which I don't know what that would look like. So and I guess you kind of touched on that already in some of the comments earlier about the technology and wanting to have the profession reflect that. So we can make that all part of the board's comments that you've already voted on and you've already touched on that, unless somebody had something else they wanted to add.
No, I had a side question, and maybe it would be something that we could just bring up tomorrow. Sometimes it seems the problems we have is that when these uniform regulations, et cetera, come out, they are so specific that every minor change and update requires a change in regulations at the state level. And somehow it seems to me that these things could be drafted with a little more flexibility in the future. I'm not a practicing lawyer.
Well, yeah, I know I get your point that you're right, try not to be, and I think that's right going forward. It's been something since I, for 20 years, first coming into state service, thought about, and to see the things that have changed even from 1999, in the last 20 plus years is amazing. And some of the requirements, I first went into the gaming area, and there were some things that were really specific, like having to put ads in newspapers and things like that. And, it was just within 5 years that already people, there were other ways.
No
of getting the
newspapers
word
left.
So, yeah, I think your point is very well taken. I think that's something, obviously we have a short period of time currently, but maybe something we should discuss with the NASB people tomorrow too, is this language flexible enough, they think, to make changes going forward, because they're always throwing something at us. And it's a very good point. Yes.
Well, look at that list of like 26 subject matters. Well, that list is going to change.
Right.
Could that be referenced to a uniform accountancy, whatever? I understand legislators don't want to give up carte blanche their authority over things within the state, but I can't imagine that any legislator is going to care whether you take Algebra 1 or trigonometry, for example.
Yeah.
And again, that was only, what we sent out was just the, the model rules, and it's not something we necessarily have to adopt either. So as far as that list, when I first saw it, I thought that was stuff that was being taken out, quite frankly, because of your point. But yeah, but it's not. They're adding it.
Sorry, when I bring up the agenda, it blocks everything else out and I can't unmute myself. Anything else we need to discuss on the future revision for CPA evolution? I'm afraid I got us off track.
I mean, I guess, should the board trust us that we're gonna, pass something that they're in favor of us changing the regs to allow it? It's not something that we would, again, because it has to be submitted by the 18th, so, 9 days, and it will not be a board meeting before that. And obviously, we can send out language and let the board be aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, anybody's thoughts? Is there any action meaningful action that we can take today?
Well, my only thought is, if the board wants to say, well, no, slow down. But if they're okay with us trying to get this in.
Yeah, frankly, I thought the process was going to move a little slower, not because it should, but just because it would be difficult to get so many people to sign off on various things at various levels, at NASBA and the ICPA, et cetera. Well, I'd rather not fall behind. We spend all our lives behind.
Right.
And through no fault of our own, so. Any comments?
Well, I just think we need to move forward expeditiously. It's always tricky. My specialty when I was teaching, one of them was the Uniform Commercial Code, which is basically a model act which each state has to adopt separately. So it's sort of analogous to our present situation. But we need to be able to move NASBA forward so we can do our own thing in a quote timely manner, whatever timely means in Connecticut. So I think you all should go forward as quickly as possible and keep us informed. And if you have to ask us to approve something digitally, we can do that.
We're certainly all online all the time now.
Right.
I know we don't have and I don't know whether this is quite in Robert's rules because we don't have our next opportunity for comments from others, but Bonnie, if you want to add anything in right now, please go ahead. Okay, hearing nothing.
Sorry, trying to find the mute button. The only thing that I would say is I appreciate what you said about moving along the CPA evolution modifications. I think that it is definitely better to include those now, and CTCPA will make that recommendation as well in our comments. It means that you literally cut roughly 1 to 2 years out of what would otherwise be a second set of regulations proposed regulations trying to move forward. So I think that's a fantastic recommendation, and the society strongly supports adding the CPA evolution modifications to the current set of proposed regulations. And just in terms of if it turns out there is a concern, you can always make adjustments later after they are before the regulation review committee. We'd rather that didn't happen and we all agreed to something prior to that. But I do believe it is a very smart move to add those regulations or regulatory modifications at this point.
Thank you. And it does seem that if you miss an opportunity, it always costs you a full year.
Yeah.
Okay. Then can we move on to new business remote testing response to NASBA? Was this specifically whether we would recognize the remote testing in the group that volunteers?
Yes, it was the two questions. One is, would Connecticut allow its candidates to be part of the pilot test for remote testing? And two, whether the board would accept scores from candidates from other states who do participate in the pilot program. NASBA is looking for that as part of the remote testing, their remote testing program, you know, as they're going through this.
Does this board have the authority by itself to say yes or no?
Well, let's see. That's a good question.
I believe yes. In my memo to you, I cited the regulations
Oh, thank you.
that basically said the board has the authority to approve the way the test is administered.
Thank you.
Oh, I think I cited the regulations, but it was removed after because I wanted to keep my memo to you short. But yes, that's the first thing I reviewed is whether the board has that authority. And I believe it's in the statute as well.
Well, I'd give my, I don't know enough about remote testing and the controls over remote testing, et cetera. But I just don't think I could, since some movement on this, given that one never knows whether we're going to go into this situation again, seems to be important to get done. I can't imagine certainly penalizing somebody that took part in an authorized pilot program. Nor do I think that we should remain outside of that pilot program. But anybody else have any thoughts? Carly, you're an educator.
Well, oh my God, can you hear me? I just lost
Yes, we
my
can.
picture. I don't know what I did. I was trying to read a chat. Now I'm gone. I think that we really need to push forward on this in terms of the people that participate in that pilot program. I don't see anything wrong with, if you will, grandfathering them in, if that's what it takes. But I think we could have a sense of the committee that we want to encourage the pilot program to move forward expeditiously. So we are supporting the pilot program.
Yeah, and adding to that, I mean, somebody's done a lot of work on this to try to make sure it's safe. The only way we'll ever know is to pilot it. And so I would be in favor personally of allowing Connecticut candidates to participate in the pilot program and to accept candidates who took it in other states under the program. But that's my opinion, so. Pete? I'm just saying that because your square lit up as if there must have been some random noise.
Hollywood Squares. I would agree with what you guys are saying. I just think, I mean, there are some questions about this remote testing and so forth, but I think the only way you're gonna, make progress on it is to move forward with the pilot program and just kind of work out the kinks and see what works and what doesn't work. And I don't know, in order to do that, I think we have to grant, we have to allow our candidates to participate in it, and we need to recognize candidates from other states that, got credit through, the pilot program. I'm with you. I'm in favor of it.
Any further comments?
This is, can you hear me? This is Alicia Strong from the CTCPA. I just wanted to say, I've sat on a couple calls about this, and the technology they're putting in place, along with the training that they're doing for people who are truly on. So their main job when someone is taking the exam is to look for anything that is suspicious. They're trained how to watch someone's eyes, how to watch someone's body movement, along with the technology in place to also combat any type of cheating. So I know there may be some hesitation. Could someone cheat? And I really don't feel that that's an issue. So to put anyone who might not be saying it, but you have some fears about that, the AICPA really was pretty confident in making sure that that wouldn't happen. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer from what I at least know from sitting in on calls.
Okay, thank you, Alicia. Any further comments? Anybody like to make a motion? Somebody's got to step into Marcia's shoes here.
Would the motion be in regards specifically to the pilot program?
At this point, yes.
Yeah, okay. Basically, what we're trying to do is endorse the pilot program and accept the results of it. Is that correct?
Correct. And it would only cover the pilot program because the results of the pilot program would go into the decision to accept on a permanent basis or not.
Right. So I guess the motion is to endorse the pilot program, allow Connecticut residents to participate in it, and accept the results from individuals in other jurisdictions.
Can I just make one slight change? You said Connecticut residents, wouldn't it be Connecticut candidates?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comment, questions?
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion. Let's see. Oh, accreditation. This is the one, Frank, that I didn't know what it was. Thank you for your email yesterday, but you're on.
Okay, yeah, I'll be quick. Basically, there's in January, NASBA put together a I don't know what it was, just a seminar or something on potential changes to the accreditation. I guess the U.S. Department of Education has some new standards for accreditation, which was, well, they already did. They were effective back in June 2020, in which they removed references to regional and national accreditation boards or bodies. And there's now no distinction. They just use the term institutional accreditation. We re-reference regional and national, but my understanding is we don't need to change anything for that. I guess we can double check tomorrow when I talk to, we talked to John and Dan at NASBA just to see, but I guess, we could clean things up. But my understanding is it doesn't really change anything because there are, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on this unless there are questions, but there are some model rules that are in place to kind of follow this, which they currently are following the Council of Higher Education Accreditation. And it's, am I right? I don't know, I can't read my writing here, and I apologize. Oh, I see. There's an Accreditation Council of Business Schools and Programs that is not recognized by CHIA, but is on the International Accreditation Organization. I guess so. That is a positive thing. But anyway, I guess the point is just to make you aware that there have been some changes, at least at the US DOE level on the accreditation, and maybe something we need to look at going forward. But I think we have enough changes going right now with regs and stats that, and I'm told it's not completely necessary to make any changes right now.
Can I just comment? I spent 7 years as a commissioner on the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, which accredits all institutions of higher education in New England. I mean, given my experience, I think that I understand why they're doing the change to not specifically say national or regional, because there are regional accreditation bodies, but the world is becoming more complex, as Frank mentions, with the international, there's 2 international business school accrediting bodies now. And I think by using the broader term institutional and leaving out national and regional, it makes it more flexible and more in line with what's going on at the present time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
But in your opinion, right now, there's nothing that actually needs to be done?
That's what I'm being told. Again, let's,
Okay.
I'll make a note now to ask, John Johnson and Dan Dustin tomorrow to see, because, again, maybe if it is something that just changing regional to institutional, maybe we could do that. It's part of this whole current thing too. Jerry Padula, who's one of the DCP committee members for regs, he'll be there too, so he can tell us, well, no, now you're asking for too many changes at this point, or not. So I'll make a note right now.
Sorry, forgot I was muted. Any further comments, questions? Okay, do we have anything for extension waivers?
We have 2. There's one that came in ahead of time. It's on the agenda for Cassidy A. Whipple. And then there's one that we just got yesterday for Kevin Luba. And that would require a 2/3 vote of the board to consider it.
Okay, which means we'll need a motion to add the additional request to the agenda.
I'll make that motion, Ed. Sorry, Martha.
Sorry, Dan.
Well, okay.
You repeat
Dan
the
move and Martha
Dan and Mark.
second? Or does Martha first?
Dan was first, so I'll
Okay.
second. Thank you.
Okay, the first one will be for Cassidy Whipple, because she sent hers in, ahead of time. And these are both for exam section extensions. And let's see, so she is asking for an extension of her BEC portion and intends to complete it by, well, let me just make sure. In the form, it says July 6, 2021. But that would give her 40, that wouldn't give her much time. So let me just see what her notes were again. yeah, she's asking for an extension to December 31st, 2021. I believe because she took the exam in January of 2019. So hers is going to expire. That's it. Okay, I see, understand. Now I think what she's looking for. Yeah, because it expires on July 7th, 2021. And currently the board has extended a kind of a blanket extension for everyone who has taken the exam from April 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. And that's extended until the December 31st, 2021. So she misses that deadline by 7 days, and she's asking for to be allowed to extend it as well. And let's see if I can get into her reasoning. Yeah, what she writes is, I'm a CPA exam candidate, and to date I've sat for both the BEC and the regulation portions. I am worried that I may not have enough time to complete all 4 sections in the 18 months after my first exam passing score. I'm aware that as of July 1st, 2020, testing windows were replaced by continuous testing, although they haven't been here yet.
Yeah.
But however, I am afraid that the time the test centers were closed due to COVID-19 did more damage continuous testing can fix. I plan to sit for the regulation in early May after tax season, and due to testing center closures, this did not happen. When I learned the centers had reopened, I immediately tried to reschedule my exam. However, there were only 3 testing centers in Connecticut, and I was not able to get a seat until June 6th, an entire month later than I had planned. I was lucky to even get that because a colleague who was attempting her exam, same time, could not get a seat until mid-August. Due to the influx of candidates trying to schedule, the test centers, many of whom are still only operating at limited capacity, booked up extremely quickly. I understand that those who had exams canceled during the close period should have first priority in getting an exam rescheduled. However, the mass influx of exam candidates over the last few months has had a serious negative impact on everyone trying to schedule an exam at Prometric. Combination of testing centers being closed for a minimum of 1 month, along with the high volume of testing candidates attempting to schedule exams. Many testing candidates were set back 2 to 3 months from their planned testing timelines. This is a huge impact for those of us whose 18-month window has already begun. Missing out on 2 to 3 months cuts the available testing time down about 16%. NASBA and the AICPA and the boards of accountancy should take measures for exam candidates to recuperate the lost time. In conclusion, I am seeking a 3-month extension on my window. I feel this is more than fair. So she's looking for end in July, August, September, October.
I have a new sympathy for being able to be on the computer at exactly the right time after, finally getting the COVID shot scheduled.
Yes.
Yes.
So to me, it sounds like it's, this one request for this one person for, I guess it's going to expire in 6 days. There's really a broader question around.
Well, no, there is.
Are we going to see more of these coming in? And if in fact there have been those delays, legitimate delays in getting the ability to retake the exam, as a board, do we consider, is it the right time to consider whether or not the extension beyond the June 30 date should be more broad than specific to this one request?
Good point. Any other thoughts on that?
Well, let me just clarify. She was asking to go through December of 2021. Is that correct?
No, it was a 3-month extension. I misspoke. It's she's looking for a 3-month extension, not a 6-month or 5-month, whatever. Yeah, it's 6-month. So it's 3 months. So it would have expired in July. She's looking into October.
Well, going along with Tim's thoughts, I mean, given what many of us have experienced trying to just get COVID shots scheduled, it seems like we ought to at least discuss having some sort of blanket extension. I'm really surprised there's so few requests for extension.
Well, I think maybe Tim's got it in that we can be expecting those coming up,
Right.
that we've got the early bird here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a presupposition that what she's written in the letter in terms of the delays that she's experienced, that others are also behind the eight ball, so to speak, that those are factually accurate, right?
Yes.
And I don't know if there's a way for us to, is it anecdotal or what it is, but just another thought to what we're trying to consider here.
What would be the downside of a blanket extension?
Well, good question. I mean, ultimately,
there's kind of two ways to do it, right? A blanket extension or sort of a standard extension that would be granted when people ask for it.
Oh, yeah.
that might be a better way to do it, because if word
Yeah.
gets out that there's a blanket, knowing the way people are, that's,
Well, I'm like that. I would say, okay, so now I have
Yeah.
until X number of days and then wait till 2 days before that. So,
Yep, that's right.
True.
Yeah, I concur that Martha's ideas are right on point in terms of a policy that we have within the board for such requests,
Mhm.
rather than a blanket extension.
This is Kat. From what I've seen of the requests coming in, a lot of them don't follow through when I ask for documentation. But a lot of them first come and say, I've missed the deadline by just a couple of days. Can I please have the extension? And so I would, procedurally, I would have to say, please submit this form and provide your documentation, and they don't follow through. But I think if you wanted to give something like, if they miss it by 30 days, then we would have the authority to extend it to the same deadline of December 31st. That might work well. That would cover everything that I've seen so far coming in.
Okay.
okay. Who's brave enough to take all of that together and propose something?
I don't really understand what Kat's position was, that it wouldn't be, they have to already have missed something by 30 days in order to get an extension. I don't know if that's more administrative headache, rather than if the person calls in and says, I just missed this by a couple of days, then the response could be, well, then, you fall under a blanket extension. If you request it, you're going to get an extension of X amount of time.
Right.
Is what you said something different from that? I'm
No.
sorry. I didn't understand it.
I was suggesting that. I wasn't going to suggest, I was just putting a date on it. So if you wanted people who missed the deadline by whatever you pick, but from what I've seen, 30 days should work well. So for example, the blanket extension so far has been June 30th. But if we make it the policy such that if you miss, for exams before July 31st, if they ask, we would grant it without having to go back to the board. Whatever date you choose will be fine. But from what I've seen, they've just missed it by a couple of days, a few days, and they're just asking. But if you want to go to September, 3 months, that'd be great too. I mean, it was just a suggestion.
Kind of like the idea of a blanket approval if it comes in, within a certain amount. we just have the authority or give the authority to approve it.
I think because it's just much easier administratively, and, you know, less delay too for the person.
So did we just come like full circle and we're back to giving these extensions on a case-by-case basis? And then also, have we approved Cassidy's extension as yet? Okay.
No, you've
No, we
not.
haven't. Maybe we can take, we thought we might be able to pick her up under a global thing, but we can
Sounds like
split that. Either way, that's easy, works.
Mhm. Well, with that being said, then I'll make a motion to approve Cassidy Whipple's extension, a requested extension time of 3 months.
I'll second that motion.
Motion on the floor with a second. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
I
Any opposed? Motion carries.
You-
Now the tough one, the global one.
So Frank, what is the blanket kind of extension we've provided to people if they were expiring before?
It's the, okay, it's, okay, currently it is all exam scores that expire from April 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021 will be extended until December 31st, 2021. And when you passed that, you said you would actually revisit it at this meeting. So here you are.
So between April 20 and June 21, we've blank extended it to December 21.
Correct.
So I guess there's two possibilities. We can either extend that, or we can go to the, if somebody falls within a month, we'll just give staff the authority to grant the extension. I think that's what I heard, two possibilities. So are there any third or fourth out there?
So Frank, how did Cassidy not meet this? I guess I'm confused.
The
She
current,
took the exam and
she missed by 7 days. She took the exam in her exam score expires on July 7th of this year. So it's the extension goes until, for those that expire up until June 30th.
And maybe we can extend that to July 31. As you know, I can't make motions, so anybody like to throw something on the table? And frankly, this is one of the very few times I kind of like the fact that I can't make motions, because this is a difficult one.
Yes, it's true.
yeah, it is.
Well, is it for, does this motion pertain to anyone who requests an extension? Or are we talking about a blanket extension?
We're not talking about either one specifically, but just seeing the sense of what anybody would like to try. Sorry.
Well, I'm not sure that I can.
I got to
craft
learn how
a
to turn the ringer off on that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Martha.
I'm not sure that I could craft a motion, but I'm in favor of the not a blanket extension, but a standard extension for those who request.
And are we talking about requesting through July of 2021, a specific request before July 31st of 2021 to be extended to December 31st of 2021? Is that what we're talking about?
I'm not sure. That's why I said
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to put together a motion because I'm not exactly sure what the timeframes that we're talking about are.
Should we be consistent with whatever we just approved for this this young woman who's expressed the frustration she's had with the system and her ask for an extension? Is there any reason why we wouldn't use that as the the barometer for these approvals that we would let CAT consider if and when people were to call and request for those extensions?
I think
Could
that
you
makes sense.
Yeah. Could you put that in the form of a motion? No,
So is it-
seriously.
Yeah. Is the motion effectively to extend the date of the original date of June 30, 2021 to September 30, 2021 for requests that come to the DCP for extensions of their exam qualification dates to be accepted by the DCP with the board's approval. I don't know if that's
That's until
Right, is that-
December 31st.
So I just, if I may, a suggestion might be something like the motion is to allow DCP staff to approve, to apply the blanket extension to those who request for exams expired before July 31st. So basically, we're applying the blanket extension just to those who just
But
fall outside of it for 31 days.
Yeah, but it should it be more the September 30 date, not the July 31 date, to be consistent with what we just approved? That was my.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, before, let me just, I don't know if this makes a difference. The other person who requested it, now he also has some medical issues, but he was looking to get his extension to the December 31st date. So I don't know if that makes any difference as for part of this.
But his is
Right,
medical
what-
related?
Yeah,
Well, if he's got medical related, I'm not sure we shouldn't treat that separately because that would be an
Okay,
individual.
just, well, no, I just wanted to let you be aware of that, but he, in case, right. Now, because the first person we asked looked for 3 months, and now just want to make sure that we're, just have all the facts.
whatever you decide would work. The only thing is what I've seen most is people emailing and said, I just missed it by a couple of days. Can it also apply to me? So they're asking for the same extension, just could they, they just missed by a couple of days. Can they still please have it? But if you want to limit it
If we
to
extend
September,
everybody 3 months, do we need the 1 month just automatic kind of a extension at at discretion of staff, or do we need both, or do we need one or the other?
I thought both was appropriate, giving the
Okay.
staff 1 month discretion.
Sounds like we're almost to getting to put it together in one motion if anybody's got it all there.
Carla, you're good at doing this?
I think I might throw the towel in on this one, unless I can get some help from Kat.
Couldn't we just extend the original blanket from test, if it expires before June 30th, 21 to
September 30th.
September 30th or July 1st or August 31st? I don't know.
Well, we certainly could do that and get that out of the way and then consider whether we also need the 1 month or whether we can
Right.
consider that at the next meeting.
So how about September 30th as the end of Pete's motion? We'll extend it to September the 30th of 2021.
I guess the first.
Anybody with a test score expiring before September 30th, 21, would we grant them an automatic extension to December 31st, 21? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, if you could just, read it again, Carla, or repeat it.
Me?
Oh,
This is on Pete. This is Pete's motion.
oh.
Pete,
Pete, you want to read it as a motion, and then we'll see if we got a second there?
So can we just vote to extend what was the first thing called, Frank? A blanket exemption or a blanket extension? You're on mute, Frank. Frank, you're on mute.
Blanket extension.
Yeah, or we've also used universal, but yes, we would use that blanket to cover everybody.
So can we just say that we'll extend the end date on the original blanket extension from June 30th, 21 to September 30th, 21?
Well, we've got a motion on the table. Would anybody like to second that one?
second.
Okay. Any further comments, questions, discussion?
Could I just, if this
I'm
is
not
with or
going to-
without asking?
Excuse me?
Is this with or without asking?
I would just say without asking, but
Okay.
Martha, is that going to be okay with you?
I'm not going to vote against it, but I still think it should include the extra 1 month discretion just for simplicity's sake and to move forward with something. Since we've spent so much time discussing it right now, we're going to have to rediscuss it at the next time that it's brought up. So I'm not going to vote against it, but I would prefer that it had the provision for an additional 1 month at the discretion of the staff.
Well, why don't we bring up that as a separate issue immediately after?
My only question is, if it's without asking, that means we would put it on our website so everybody will know, then there wouldn't be discussion at all. Because everyone would just know up to this date you get extended. That's without asking.
Yeah, so from our standpoint, it would be administratively easier. We just let NASBA know and then that's it.
Are we back to square one, or do we want to vote on the original motion?
Say let's vote.
Okay. Then we've got a motion, we've got a second. Unless we have further comment, can we have a call for all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, can I suggest that the next meeting we put on the agenda, whether this is going to cover everything or whether we need to take any further discretionary? I'm not sure we've reviewed all the potential cases that could happen here.
Okay.
Okay, and we have one other extension waiver request.
Well, I think you've covered that because it expires on July 2nd, 2021. So this change would cover that and allow the requested extension to December 31st, 2021. So that would cover it.
Okay.
You're gonna tell him that
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yes, I will tell him that,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And actually,
Be
since
reasonable.
you understand too, that the first one now is extended to December 31st, not just 3 months, because she's covered within that as well.
Right.
Right. And then we will let her know that as well.
Frank? Who is the new candidate? Who is the board adding, the one that's going to be covered by this?
Well, it's in addition to the Cassidy Whipple who just came through, it's Kevin Luba, Luba. B as in boy, A.
Okay. I think that's everything on the agenda. Unless there's new business or whether we have any further comments of any person present today.
Not me.
And then I think we're set until May 11th, unless we have to have a digital vote on something in the next, 9 days, 10 days?
Right.
Guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, unless there's anything else.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good time. I hope that was the right answer, but we'll see.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank
Be
you.
safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank
Bye.
you.